harm's way. And force can never be the first answer, but sometimes it's the only answer.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a very tricky situation in the Far East, with the United States very much involved.
A third U.S. aircraft carrier has arrived in the Persian Gulf now, along with
At the moment, the Independence is America's eyes and ears watching the Chinese Communist exercises. But if there is
USS
trouble,
Independence is reassurance for Taiwan and fair warning to China. But
China is maintaining a major military presence in the waters off Taiwan, so now the United States is moving additional carrier groups led by the USS Independence just east of Taiwan.
At 37, she is the oldest ship in the U.S. Navy. The USS Independence, with its 5,600 crew members and 70-plus aircraft, is one of the most respected and most experienced ships in the fleet.
Time after time, the sailors of the Independence stood up for freedom and stood down freedom's enemies. In the Cuban Missile Crisis, Indy was there. In Vietnam and Lebanon and Grenada, Indy was there. When Iraq invaded Kuwait, you were the first carrier on the scene. You delivered our answer up close and personal. In peacetime and war, this great ship and its battle group have been there as America's shield and America's sword.
if there's trouble, how prepared are you? How fast can you scramble?
We're always ready.
It is a special day, I think made even more special by so many former crew members of USS Independence. In addition to former commanding officers, we have 36 members of the initial commissioning crew of Independence here, as well as scores of other officers, chief petty officers, and men who have served in this ship. But all of us in the Navy have watched her amass her record, whether we served in her or not. Originally commissioned in 1959, the initial guest speaker at her commissioning ceremony was none other than Admiral Arleigh Burke. Within 3 years of her commissioning, she proved a primary tool in President Kennedy's bag of tricks as he faced the Cuban Missile Crisis. Over the next 20 years, over a number of deployments, she plied the waters of the Caribbean, the Northern and Southern Atlantic, the Mediterranean, the Indian Ocean, and served with distinction in Vietnam. In 1982, she answered the country's call as a part of the peacekeeping force off Lebanon. And in her cruise the following year, in 1983, as she began her cruise, she played a major role in the invasion of Grenada and wrapped up that deployment by launching strikes against Syrian strongholds in Lebanon. In 1988, true to the adage, join the Navy and see the world, she shifted home ports from the East Coast to San Diego. And in 1990, as Saddam made his very bold and brazen move into Kuwait and looked with a very hungry eye towards the bases in Saudi Arabia, it was this ship and her battle group who were first on scene and gave Saddam pause to consider a move into Saudi Arabia, freeing those bases for our massive and rapid buildup during Desert Shield and the ultimate victory in Desert Storm. In 1991, she once again shifted home ports, this time from San Diego to Yokosuka, Japan, relieving Midway as our forward deployed carrier in Japan. In 1995, she won distinction as the oldest ship in our active duty commissioned service, and since that time has flown the first Navy Union Jack from her jack staff. In 1996, she proved a stabilizing force in the Straits of Taiwan, easing tensions between Taiwan and mainland China. And I will tell you that in the short period of time that I've been privileged to serve as Air Pac, she has not stopped. In January of this year, when Saddam again began to cause us problems. The National Command Authority asked that we elevate our carrier presence in the Persian Gulf from 1 to 2 aircraft carriers. In less than 1 week's time, she deployed to the Persian Gulf, where she served with distinction throughout the spring and early summer months of this year, and she is finished on top. During her time in the Persian Gulf, it was my distinct honor to send a message to Captain Milliken announcing that fully 11 divisions on board this ship were being awarded the Battle E, and indeed the ship was being afforded the distinction of the ComNav Air Pack Battle E, identifying her as the finest carrier in the Pacific Fleet.
A ship's decommissioning is a bittersweet moment. We are sorry to see a ship of nearly 40 years sail over the horizon. Yet we are proud of the history that she has secured for our nation. And it has been quite a history, as a review of Indy's accomplishments will attest. USS Independence managed to participate in nearly every major naval operation in the past 4 decades. As an Atlantic Fleet ship, a Pacific Fleet ship, and as the forward deployed carrier presence in Japan. Nearly 40 years after her commissioning, Indy has helped to build a multinational resolve that extends to a collective human interest for peace and stability around the world. In every instance of Indy's lifetime accomplishments, I have used the word presence. Hers has been a message of presence, forward presence, and the making of American history. When a ship has performed as Indy has, her decommissioning is a cause for celebration. Today's event is indeed a celebration of the life of a great ship. Thank each of you very much for honoring this great warship with me. God bless the USS Independence and all who sailed in her. God bless our Navy Marine Corps team, and God bless America.
The Secretary of the Navy takes pleasure in presenting the Navy Unit Commendation to USS Independence for services set forth in the following citation. For exceptionally meritorious service during naval operations in the Western Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, and Arabian Gulf from 1 May 1996 to 30 September 1998. The unsurpassed professionalism and dedication of the officers and crew of Independence enabled national authorities to confidently assert naval strength in 3 ocean areas. Independence consistently demonstrated unparalleled resourcefulness and dedication while providing power projection and maritime presence in response to dynamic operational taskings from the 5th and 7th Fleet commanders. As the centerpiece of Battle Force 7th Fleet, Independence conducted operations to assure naval superiority in support of all Western Pacific theater operations. During her last operational deployment, Independence was called to serve as part of Battle Force 5th Fleet, wherein she participated in dual U.S. and combined carrier operations during the Iraqi contingency. Integrated as a member of 5 Allied Nation Maritime Force, Independence provided a ready platform for unsurpassed air reconnaissance and strike support for Operation Southern Watch. By their truly distinctive achievements, superior performance, and unfailing devotion to duty, the officers and enlisted personnel of USS Independence reflected great credit upon themselves and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Signed, the Honorable John Dalton, Secretary of the Navy.
The headline in the Sunday New York Herald Tribune on January 11th, 1959 read, "Mightiest carrier is now in the fleet." Admiral Ollie Burke, then Chief of Naval Operations, addressed over 5,000 commissioning attendees and said the Independence would be a new force standing between freedom and tyranny in an unsettled world. He was quoted, "Seavour provides the means for immediate response, and aircraft carriers are the backbone of that power today." That statement made by Admiral Burke nearly 40 years ago is just as valid today as it was then. The ship has aged over the years, but the average age of the crew still remains 19 years old. It's the young sailors day after day that have kept this ship alive, combat ready, with the latest in weapons and C4I technology. After steaming more than 2 million miles and 386,000 traps under her belt, not only she runs with the best, she leads the pack. On our direct transit to the Arabian Gulf this past January, Indy averaged over 27 knots. The Navy's oldest and finest, flying the Don't Tread on Me Jack, proudly and fittingly served her country for one last conflict. For the 30 previous commanding officers and the tens of thousands of former crew members, thank you. You have made my job easy and every sailor on board. You are the life's blood of this grand old lady. To the crew of Independence who has served with me the last 14 months, you have given this ship your heart and soul. You have achieved achievements lauded by heads of state in numerous countries, by 3- and 4-star admirals and generals, and by presidents. You are the true heroes in life of this ship. You deserve every award that the United States can give. When they arrive, wear them with pride. You are part of history. You have the warrior spirit, the pride, the professionalism, and the loyalty to succeed no matter what the task anywhere in the world. Let that spirit grow. Unleash it. As I give the order to secure the watch, Independence will leave a long, distinctive history and a legacy that we're all proud of. Thank you for a job well done. Fair winds and following seas. It's time, Captain Slintz, prepare to decommission United States ship Independence.
I would simply like to say to all the former crew members, and most especially to those of you manning the rail here this morning, how terribly proud we are of your accomplishments, of the records of this tremendous fighting lady, and how very proud we are to be serving with each and every one of you. Decommissioning order from the Chief of Naval Operations to Commanding Officer USS Independence CV-62. In accordance with CNO, Washington, D.C., message date time group 14-22-52 Zulu, August 1998, USS Independence is directed to decommission effective 30 September 1998. Signed, J.L. Johnson, Admiral, United States Navy, Chief of Naval Operations. Captain Milliken, carry out your orders.
Very well, sir.
Executive Officer, debark the crew.
Independence, departing. The display of the First Navy Jack is to provide a unique distinguishing mark by the oldest Navy ship in active status. USS Independence will decommission on 30 September 98. Upon retirement, the flag should be transferred to USS Kitty Hawk with appropriate ceremony.
Haul down the First Navy Jack! Retire the colors and the commissioning pennant!
Oh, I enjoyed particular aspects of it. We had big poker games down the IC room, and generally the cooks would sit there and be breaking donuts, so we could sit there and turn off their telephone and then go in and they'd phone us and tell us their telephone wasn't working, so we'd go down there and pick up some donuts for the poker game. And well, it was little things like that made it interesting.
We were pulling into Mayport to pick up President Kennedy, and the advanced Secret Service detail was on here at the time, and they stopped it, and we went to Cuba, and it was the first time I seen the real weapons come out of the holes where the Marines stand at parade rest. I looked at the stuff here on the flight deck, and it was like, it reminded me of fine jewelry. And I thought this was actually the end of the world. And the captain did say, Captain Harvey Lanham, he announced over to 1MC, we may not have no home to go to, but with just what we have in this ship alone, never mind any other ship that's with us, they're going to have no home to go to either.
Officer of the deck, secure the watch. PC-1 Surface Warfare, DJ McDonald, the 1998 Independence Sailor of the Year, and the last Petty Officer of the Watch, will now present the ship's deck log to the captain, who will make the last entry, which reads, 30 September 1998, USS Independence decommissioned, and deck log closed. Captain, the Independence is decommissioned.